All right. I'll do an intro and we'll get into it. Otherwise, we're just going to talk
Yeah,
the whole thing before we get there.
right.
Nice. Very nice. Front and back. Leader's garment. Quite happy.
It's alright, isn't it? Looks pretty good in that bad boy.
Excellent. I think the word you're looking for is... Look at that thing. Looks beautiful. Done. Beautiful.
Now, only if you're ready for this.
Welcome back to the OTB podcast, the original and still the best New Zealand mountain bike podcast. Although we're going stateside today and I'm getting joined by my good friend, Sean McClendon, aka Griz. What's up, Griz? How are you, man?
Kieran, great to be back on the OTB podcast. What's up, New Zealand downhill?
Ah, man, we love it. We love it. We had a good response to that, to our last USDH podcast we did. So I was like, it's about time we got another one going here.
I love it. Well, I mean, off the rip here, Lockie Stevens McNabb is in town. And you know, all these Americans here are sweating that.
I did see that. We've got a few Kiwis there actually this weekend. But hey, actually, before we get too far into it, got to say a big thank you to Maxxis Tyres, the choice of many racers who will be on track, like Troy Brosman this weekend at Windrock for this US downhill race, which is exciting to see, and also Fox Suspension. I'm sure there'll be plenty of hitters out there on the 40. They also dropped the new 34 SL, which is a very nice looking fork if you're in your 30s and 40s like me and you're having an identity crisis and taking up a bunch of cross country racing. But that's a different topic. So we're going to save that one for now, and we are going to focus on US downhill, which Griz, we were just talking before we jumped on, and I was having a look at the entry list. 492 entrants for this weekend at Windrock. Like that's huge.
That is a massive turnout, especially for the East Coast. I mean, I've got my work cut out for me this weekend announcing. I'm really glad I just bought 2 bags of Ricola because I'm probably going to blow through them.
So you're live announcing the weekend, are you?
I am, yeah. So this weekend I'll be on-site announcing, and then I'll also be doing the Gravity Co-op replay, which we'll get out on YouTube as soon as Mangler and the crew can get it all chopped up. So nice. Yeah, I've got a lot of talking ahead of me, Kieran.
Yeah, you do. You're going to be a busy man over the next few days.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, this will be the biggest international field that I've announced live on site. So I'm very, very fired up.
I was looking through the entry list and there is 70 elite men and 21 elite women entered, which looking at that, I'm like, damn, that's for a start, very impressive to have that big a field. But looking through the elite men, you've got the Common Sale Muck-Off team. You've got Trek Factory Racing. You've got Canyon, Yeti. You've got Ryan Pinkerton from Mondraker. You've got Giant Factory Racing. I mean, there's 6 World Cup winners at the race this weekend, and this isn't even the US Downhill National Series. This is just what are they calling this? The Tennessee
National. And yeah, it's just a one-off race, kind of like what the US Open once was. Nowadays, the US Open is combined with the Monster Pro Downhill Series. But yeah, the Tennessee National is a one-off deal. This is just going to be Battle Royale preseason race and perfect venue for a pre-World Cup kind of throwdown. And all those aforementioned teams are already here. Trek is doing a camp. They're doing a bunch of testing. Canyon is doing a bunch of testing, and they're doing a press camp after the race. So, I mean, I picked up Mad Dog Boris, the legendary photographer from Nashville, gave him a ride to Windrock, and he kind of broke down what his whole deal is. So he's got a lot of work, and he's stoked to be here too. So it's just such an exciting revival of US downhill racing with this, with most of the heavy hitters turning up.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like US downhill is back. There's obviously a hunger for people to show up. When you've got the likes of the Common Sale team coming, they're all European based basically, except for Dylan Maples. Mm-hmm. It's like you've got that whole team coming out. Like, that's pretty cool to see. I imagine most of them will be staying on for the Ride Rock Creek National next weekend as well. You'd have to
You're dead on. Yeah, they're back-to-back weekends, which is always great for, in our day, back in the mid-school 2010s, there was that Sea Otter Classic, and then everyone would go up to the Northwest Cup at Port Angeles, Washington. Yeah. So the Tennessee National is now the, Underworld Cup 2.0, if you will.
Yeah, it's sick. And I see, Aaron's obviously Aaron Gwynn's got a long history with Red Bull, so he's got Red Bull sponsoring it too, which is cool to see.
Yep.
But so
they're gonna have two trucks out here, so it's gonna be like my voice is gonna be pinging off these hills.
That's awesome. So this is Aaron's park, isn't it?
It is.
Windrock.
Yeah. So he took over the Windrock Bike Park, I think in 2020, like transitioned from 23 to 24. So last year was his first full year of park owner, manager, operator, and dude, he is like the same Aaron that I recall when he was getting into it. I mean, yesterday he was out riding and then immediately shovel in hand, tuning up the racetrack. Like he's like a kid in a playground. He's just got his own little dream park, and all of his cool friends are here to throw down and get a preseason race in. It's pretty amazing.
It's super cool to see a dude like him. He could have walked away from the sport, a couple of years ago. He'd made plenty of money. He could have walked away as one of the greatest of all time, but instead he sets up his own team, keeps things alive, gets this park, and is reinvesting back in downhill racing, which is super rad to see. Because, this park looks sick, and I think it's year-round as well, isn't it?
It is year-round, and then another notable point on Windrock is that it is pro town for US downhill. So you have Austin Dooley just made the move to town. Everybody is, and not just Americans, but a lot of Canadians are coming down in January, February, March, getting their off-season training in. It's quite wet over here on this side of the country, pretty much year round, but winters they get a lot of good mud training in here.
Yeah,
in January,
just like
February.
Europe in the summer.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like what Temecula, California once was for motocross, or like Pro Town. Like Dave, think of over to BMX, like the Pro Town era of Dave Mira, Ryan Nyquist over in Greenville, North Carolina. Windrock, Oliver Springs, Tennessee is Pro Town USA for downhill racing.
Well, it kind of looks like it's the Claremont, Florida of motocross.
Exactly. There you go.
Everyone's racing downhill in Tennessee. That's it. That's cool to see, and it looks like an awesome spot. Like the trails look good. Looks like it'd be a good place to actually be doing that training in too.
Oh yeah. The trails are the real deal. Like any typical downhill track, the steepness of the track doesn't really translate on camera, but these are European style racetracks. Like the racetrack they'll be on for the Tennessee National, very World Cup oriented, right? There's just high speeds, steep pitches, and in the steep pitches, there's heavy compressions. Like my 40-year-old tore-up body does not really appreciate it, but I appreciate it as a race fan, and yeah, man, it's for sure the place to be in the U.S.
Yeah. It's like, we just said like 490 something, closing in on 500 entries across all the categories, obviously. But our era, our mid-school era, we were, you raced Norbers in the early days of like your racing when it was at its peak. But even then I'm like, man, were they getting 500 riders? Like 500 it seems like a lot.
It's not exactly apples to apples, because the early 2000s Norba was all disciplines. So you would have roughly 800 to 1,000 riders, but that would be cross-country, trials, downhill, slalom. So it was all of them. But thinking back to the downhill turnout, I really do believe that we're at what Norba numbers once were and actually eclipsing those numbers present day. And like I know the regional series, the Northwest Cup, I was talking to Casey Northern last year, just getting caught up, and he said that they have to cap the entries because they flat out don't have enough time in the day to race as many riders. That
becomes a problem, right?
It's a problem. Yeah, you only have so many hours in the day, so they cap their entries at 650, and they're just cramming riders in, hoping that there's no course halts to get through everybody.
Yeah, 650 is wild. That's sick. And I mean, it goes back to what we talked about last time when we did our previous episode, and just that the downer was alive and well there, and the hunger's there for it. And damn, that's cool. That's really cool to see. I think,
especially with like you can. I mean, I've said this in some other podcasts, but you can clearly see that as the bike industry is in this weird post-COVID slump, racing, and again in all disciplines, racing is so healthy. It's not, it doesn't reflect the quote unquote carnage that we're seeing in the actual back end business of the bike world right now.
No, that's 100% correct. It's like there's still a real hunger for it, but it's really cool to see, and I think it's just going to help the US and like Clay's US Monster Pro Downhill Series and that, because it's with the way the World Cup has gone this year, people are going to be looking for a new place to go racing, and damn, I think we're on a bit of a renaissance.
I think so. I mean, I really won't be surprised if there are roughly 100 pro men at every Monster Pro Downhill race this year, and probably 25 to 30 pro women. I really will not be shocked if those are the numbers. And some of those Monster Pro Downhills will probably see over 100 riders. I wouldn't be surprised. Like Rock Creek would potentially have that.
That's wild. That's super cool to see. How's the weather looking for this weekend for Windrock?
So it's it rained last night. So as we record, it's Monday. So Monday prior to the race, which the trails needed the rain. They were quite dusty yesterday, and it looks like it's got a chance of rain for Sunday. But it's East Coast US, so it's I don't know if it's like New Zealand where like the 7-day forecast can be completely inaccurate about 24 hours ahead of a storm. Yeah, so right now it's looking like it'll rain on race day, but the precip numbers it wouldn't be much. If anything, it would make the track better if it rains, rather than like a mud race where you want to intentionally qualify in a position where you drop in for early, right?
Yeah.
Do the old Matty Leahy Conan Champery 2007, which
oh man.
Yeah. What? But and on that too, I think like right when you and I were getting out of the kind of US National Series, actually like those about 2010 that year, like seeding was treated just like World Cup format, right? Like seeding basically is qualifying. That is also making a renaissance in US downhill. Like we call it seeding out here. I'm done calling it seeding. It's just a qualifier. Like these racers are throwing down. They're going for the glory in the qualifying run. So I think we'll see that this weekend. I think there's going to be super hot times on Saturday, and then they'll be shaving from there. Barring any torrential downpour rains on race day Sunday.
Have you got any predictions? You got any? I mean, we've got Troy Brosnan, Amory Perrin, Aaron Gwynn, Matt Walker, Lockie Stevens-McNabb. Like, there's a lot of names there. like, what you got any hot favorites out early?
So I think I'll start with the Americans, right? Because obviously I'm biased being the Americans. So I really Lucas Shaw is razor sharp. I mean, if there was a World Cup next weekend, he's ready. He's 2 for 2. He's cleaned house at the Downhill Southeast races. So I think Lucas Shaw and Aaron Gwynn are the sharpest American downhillers right now. And Aaron being kind of a sleeper, right? Like he hasn't done any preseason racing. He's been busy with the bike park, but he's also healthier. He's had more time to heal his arm, and I know he's just quietly doing his thing. He's still a threat. But man, I really just kind of feel in my bones Lockie Stevens-McNabb is going to turn up. Looks like he's got really good momentum early season, right? He just tore it up at Crankworks a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? Troy Brosnan is always a threat. And then, Amory Perrin, you got the rainbow stripe qualified riders that can really, really turn up. But I think there's also a potential for maybe one of these regional sleepers to maybe not contend for the win, but contend for the podium. There's a lot of fast racers that are just hammering laps at Windrock.
someone to slide on in and kind of cause a bit of an upset,
Yeah.
or not so much of an upset, but just like, hey, where the hell do they come from?
Right. Like, yeah, have fun on the World Cup circuit, but this is my backyard.
Yeah, you're in my house
Yeah,
now.
man. You're in my house.
I'm going to throw a sleeper in there, and I mean he's not that much of a sleeper, but like you with the Americans, I'm going to throw Tyler Waite in there. Yeti Factory race team kid, so he's still racing in juniors, but I mean he has been on an absolute tear in New Zealand this summer. Him and Lockie at the Crankworks Summer Series race in Christchurch, they were separated by like a couple of hundredths of a second, but they were like 6 seconds up on Bernard Kerr. So
okay.
Tyler. Yeah, so Tyler just beat. We had Oceania champs last weekend. Tyler was about 2 seconds up on everyone, and so he's coming in hot. I see him on the entry list. So he's had a couple. Like, I mean, he's in season last year was pretty kind of hurt by injuries. He got a late start, but still came back with some podiums. But yeah, I think he's going to be one that could really bring some heat, be one of those guys that pops up on the podium where people probably weren't quite expecting him since he's still a junior.
I'm actually really glad to know that. That gives me a lot to chat about on site at the race this coming weekend. I got a question for you regarding Tyler. Do you think he's maybe got a little chip on his shoulder to beat Lockie? You think he wants to come here to Tennessee and let Lockie know what time it is?
I don't know. I think like Tyler is one of the most like laid back dudes. If he was any more relaxed, he'd probably just be horizontal. You know, like he is a chiller, and but just a super sick rider. I honestly think he would probably be coming there more to probably try and like lay a bit of a blow to like Max Allren, you know, the Common Style Junior kid, because he's obviously going to be one of his competitors this year. So I kind of think maybe that would be a little bit more of where his focus would maybe be on. But he's like the Richie Root of New Zealand, you know, like Richie doesn't say a whole lot. He just lets his absolute bike handling talk for him. So they're a great pair. They're actually they're pretty funny. I took them both out riding last summer here in Nelson when Richie was in town and Tyler, and man, between the two of them, that was the quietest ride I've ever been on. They don't talk a whole lot.
Strictly business.
Yeah, but no,
I love
good
it.
dudes.
You know, you mentioned Richie Root. I got to throw him into the mix. He's back downhill racing. He's 30 years old.
Yep.
He's got a lot of wisdom. You know, he's a well-seasoned 30-year-old, right? He's been at the top of the sport, downhill and enduro. And man, I love to see it. Like all these enduro riders coming over to downhill. There's a new kid on the block for US downhill. This guy Colton Peterson. Never heard of him up until this year. He came out swinging with a podium a weekend and a half ago at the Downhill Southeast Round 2. And I think if you haven't seen him ride, Kieran, you would appreciate his style. It slightly reminds me of you. Super relaxed, casual, just that effortless effort, but his knees aren't tucked in. So you might knock him for the knees.
Can't have everything, but that's okay. that sounds like when this dude that no one really knew about, Aaron Gwynn, burst onto the scene in 2000 and damn, what was that? 2008, 2009. Yeah. Yep. There's this moto kid. Apparently, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's got some handling skills and some fitness.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see Richie racing a full season, because I think.
Oh yeah.
You know, like a couple of races last year, and like he had some good results. He was making finals. He was in that kind of top 15 range, and man, with it being his focus, I can't wait to see what Richie can do.
Yeah, I mean, he's right, like you just said, he's got pace. I think we'll see where he stacks up come Sunday here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just really excited that Yeti has made the return to downhill racing. Like they've been missed. That's a staple brand for downhill. Where you been, Yeti? Welcome back.
Yeah. Hopefully they bring that downhill bike out, and we just start seeing them pop up everywhere again. I mean,
that bike looks great.
A lot of people
looks
went the enduro route, but it's good to see. Good to see them putting a full focus back into it with those guys.
Positively.
Maybe we'll see McKenna make his like 4th return to World Cup downhill racing.
Why not? Why not? He's McKenna. If anyone can do it, it's him.
Mick could be the guy that would come out and win a World Cup. He would come out of nowhere, go win a World Cup at like 40,
and then go win Masters
years
at
old.
the same time. Right?
Yeah.
Like win a World Cup and then win Masters champs in the same year.
And the women's. So I remember we talked when we were talking last time. You were talking about Aletha Osgaard. So
yes.
She's obviously on the Canyon Collective factory team this year. So she turned some heads, got the support. So she's clearly going to be one to watch.
I would say she is the American downhill phenom talent right now. She's teammates with Lucas Shaw, and what you'll immediately notice is that she's mimicking his form on the bike, which is a great person to mimic. I mean, Luca has that effortless effort. You know, like he reminds me a lot of Eric Carter in Eric Carter's heyday.
Yeah.
Just doesn't look like he's going fast, but he's just, you know, green at every split and just, you know, showing these kids how it's done. So
never looks out of control or
no, he's never loose, right? Especially in the US, he's never loose. I mean, World Cups are a different ball game. The intensity is another level. The tracks are, I think, a lot more. The impacts are a lot more harsh than what we currently have in the US.
Yeah.
For what you'll see with the Monster Pro Downhill and the Tennessee National, but then again, Windrock, like I said, there's heavy compressions, man. Like you can buckle yourself if you're really pushing out here. Just
I remember seeing a video last year from a big compression. There was like one spot on the track last year where people were just getting like, I think they were trying to kind of send it deep into this big compression, and there was a lot of crashes going on that one.
Oh yeah,
but sidetrack. So Aletha,
she's razor sharp. She'll be racing the junior categories and World Cups later this year. So on that note, I mean, the fastest U.S. downhill pro women right now are all racing age 16. It is a complete changing of the guard. A lot of the seasoned ladies have just moved on from downhill racing to other things. There's a lot of them are still riding, but they're just not willing to risk it for the current crop of talent, and that is downhill mountain bike racing. But with that being said, Frida Ronning is in attendance. So she's a Tennessee local, rides Windrock a bunch. She could clearly, you know, be a podium contender. Young Xana Logar, like she's riding phenomenally.
So she's one of the future frameworks races. So if she's been on Nico's radar, clearly she's got some talent there.
She has talent, and it's also worth noting that she races cross country as much as she races downhill. She's the second coming of John Tomac, if you will.
Yeah, that's super cool.
It's pretty amazing. And then you know, there's also Rochelle Peugeot. She's from Quebec, but she spends a lot of time here in Tennessee. She's got as many laps as anyone here at Windrock. I don't think she's necessarily a threat for the win, but I think she is a podium contender, right? Like she could top 3, top 5.
Yeah.
For sure.
One of those ones that'll pop up. Yeah, and I mean, then you look deeper, you know, you've got Miriam Nicole there as well. Maureen Cabarrou, Lisa Bowman. So like Sasha Ernest, who's had some solid results lately as well. So it's looking like a pretty deep field in the women's field as well.
It is. It's going to be an exciting final for them as well. We'll give Eris Van Leuven a shout out. She's missed. We love her over here in the States. Hope she's healing up well, and can't wait to see her back on a bike. You got a lot of fans over here, Eris. Get well soon.
Goddamn hardline.
Yeah, man.
I'm hoping she makes it back for some races. It's looked like she took an absolute beating over there, which is unfortunate with a few injuries from that one crash. But yeah, hopefully she's all good for too long. Because she had a stellar US kind of campaign last year. She was just popping in and out for races, and she won a bunch. Nearly won the overall.
Right. That was like my favorite battle of the 2024 season. Eris versus Allie. It was like, I mean, you can't ask for a more dramatic finish to a season, whatever it is, World Cup, Crankworks, Monster Pro Downhill, right? Like having like the final run be, okay, whoever wins today wins the overall. Like that's all we can ask for as race fans, right?
That's always good. When it comes down to the last race, that's all you can hope for.
Exactly.
I saw Charlie Harrison's back. He's not racing this weekend by the looks of it, unfortunately, but cool to see him back racing.
I just saw his post. He's on the RE Factory program and looks like he's going to be focusing on enduro. But, the RE team came out and did some downhill racing last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if he turns up to like the Snow Summit Monster Pro Downhill race, or maybe go out to the Powderhorn Utah event. I wouldn't be surprised to see the RE team racing some downhill.
Yeah. Speaking of enduro and going a little bit sidetracked, what's the scene like for enduro racing over in the US at the moment? I guess there's like still the kind of big mountain enduro scene and that sort of thing, like still a bunch of regional kind of series going on.
Yeah, BME I would say is the premier enduro series. There's a lot of it's very regionalized, so it's still happening. I don't think it's really like it's just kind of at a plateau, right? Like I think it's sustainable. I think what we are seeing though is a lot of the North American enduro athletes that were taking enduro very seriously are shifting over to downhill because they see that's where the opportunity is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because there's a lot of, like, I notice a lot of kids, say kids in a relative term, but like a lot of the junior races and that seem to be doing the same thing here. I think they're realizing like, well, shit, the EDR is pretty much in turmoil. It's not that easy to get in and enter a race anymore. So I think there's a lot of them are like, man, I'm going downhill racing. It's funny how many... But a bunch of kids I saw at the national round I did earlier in the year on trail bikes, but with a Fox 40 on the front of them. You know, like they've
Nice.
just got their trail bike and they've got like a 190mm travel 40 or something, and it's like they throw that on, and because they're kind of just doing what they can, you know, to show up and go downhill racing, and so you're like, it's good. This is what we need.
I love to hear that.
Which is,
they're always welcome.
Yeah,
they're always welcome. I don't know if it was like this in New Zealand, but there was like 10 years ago, kind of at the peak of enduro, at least over here, there was a smug attitude. Like enduro athletes really hated downhill for some. It was like cool to hate downhill. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's kind of funny, isn't it? Yeah.
Was it like that in New Zealand?
It might not have been. Yeah, it might not have been like super obvious or super bad, you know. But there was definitely this like downhill's dying. Look at enduro, you know, is because at that point all the brands as well were a bit like, oh shit, these are the bikes that are selling. Like, let's just pump money into this, and it's just had a turning point and has come all the way back around the other way. I think they're at the point now where they're like, well, enduro bikes just sell themselves because that's what 95% of people want to have, because they can pedal up, they can do shuttles, they can ride a chairlift if they want to. We don't need to invest into the marketing them via racing because it's not an easy discipline to watch. You know, like it's not a marketable discipline.
Right. But I agree with everything you just said. And I was saying that 10 years ago when I was feeling that hate on downhill. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, downhillers have paved the path for everybody. Like, bikes are good because of downhill. You're welcome. Like, show some love.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a funny one, eh? It's like I think enduro has kind of realized. I say enduro like it's a living being, but I think it's kind of people have realized that enduro is never going to be a downhill or an XC. You know, like it's just can't really sit at that World Cup level and be super visible and super easy to watch, no matter what they do, how hard they try. It's core mountain biking, really. And that's kind of what it needs to be. It just needs to realize that, like, it. And I talked to the last episode I did with Eddie Masters, and we talked about this where, you know, they'd go to like South America and they'd have one stage that was like 20 minutes long. And then Eddie was saying how he won the shortest stage in EWS history, and it was like 29 seconds or something, you know, like that's how enduro should be. It should change based on where it goes, you know, like you shouldn't be molding the area that the racing's in to suit some sort of format. You should just go and race whatever is in that area and race it however works. So it's I think it's going to come back around and kind of find itself, but it's never going to be World Cup downhill.
I agree.
All right, we had some technical difficulties. We've had a couple of attempts of cutting in and out, so I kind of forgot where we're at to. I think we were talking about how downhill is way more awesome than enduro. Basically,
I'm going to go ahead and blame it on enduro. We were just basically kind of starting to shit on enduro, and then the recording, enduro just came through and gave us some technical difficulties.
Can we blame this on Warner Brothers or Chris Ball, like everyone does on the internet?
Or we could blame it on Eddie Masters, right? You were talking about Eddie winning the shortest enduro stage. Like, we got Ed Bulled.
Yeah, Ed Bull is the spirit of enduro, so maybe he cut us off. So getting back on track with downhill racing. So the following weekend, this weekend coming, you've got Windrock, Red Bull Tennessee National. The following weekend is the opening round of the Monster Pro Downhill Series, isn't it?
It is. And that is opening again at Rock Creek, Rock Creek, which is Nico Mullally's bike park. So, God damn it, it's doing it again.
How rad is that? That like these two epic races, and we've got Nico's park, Aaron's park. Like, that's super sick that these guys are investing back in the community like that.
It's all we need to do is just keep it going, rinse and repeat. We need successful racers and riders to just reinvest in the sport, and things are going to carry on indefinitely and just get better and better and better.
Yeah. Actually, there's so many parallels there, because it's like Nico's running his own team. He's also building his own, not that he's out there welding, but he's got his own bike brand that they're racing on too. So
that's right.
That's super cool what these guys are up to.
Yeah. And I mean, Nico's got the Future Frameworks program. So they're both, Nico and Aaron are both mentoring an entire, the next generation as well, on top of everything else that they have going on.
That's rad. Actually, I noticed Ace of Amet wasn't on the entry list for Tennessee. Is he?
I've noticed that too.
I don't think I've seen anything about him being hurt.
Nope. He's healthy. He's lifting a ton of weights, but
that's good.
He might, I don't know. So like Nico, I was with Nico the other weekend, and he's being quiet. He's keeping those cards close to his chest. So I wish I could speak more on Asa, but the truth is now we're maybe starting to see a little bit of an elusive, like, where's Asa? That could be the new strategy for him. Just keep him in hiding.
Maybe it's all part of the plan.
It could be.
Yeah.
But Asa clearly benchmarked himself down there at Hardline Tassie. So if he turns up to Windrock, he'll be a threat. He will be a threat, and same with Rock Creek. He'll be a threat.
That kid is ridiculous. He's so talented beyond his years. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like him and Jackson Goldstone are both on another level, right? Because those dudes could go drop into Rampage. They could go do the Natural Selection Tour if they ever wanted to, right? And they're also a threat on the World Cup downhill circuit. So it's taking it back to the days of Kyle Strait and Cam Zink, but those two are on another level because they could be a threat in all of it, right? Whereas way back when you see Cam Zink and Kyle Strait at a World Cup, they're chugging beers before practice. Like, not before they're riding, but before practice starts, before track walk.
Yeah. And damn, Kyle was fast, man. He had some real potential in downhill racing, but I just don't think the focus was there on it at that point. Not like these kids do.
No, yeah, it's a new paradigm.
I just watched the Red Bull race tapes, the new season that's come out, and one of the episodes focuses on Asa, and he's just flipping dirt jumps, 360s and everything. You're like, man, this kid's sick. He's got so much skill behind him.
He's nasty. He can ride a dirt bike too, or a Sur-Ron. Throw him on anything with two wheels and just watch what happens.
Here we go. Speaking of dirt bikes and Red Bull race tapes, have you heard any news on how Dak Norton is with his injury.
So I'm going to chat with him because I did both hips. So what Dak did, I did both sides and then nerve damage, right? So what I do know is that he is back on his feet. So we got the difficulty. My God, we got the reconnecting thing on my end. Can you still hear me okay?
I think we're still good. We're still recording, so let's just
sweet.
charge on through.
Sweet.
We'll give it our best shot.
So yeah, Dakota is back on his feet. He's weight bearing status, so he's past like the beginning of the end. Sorry, I didn't say that right. The end of the beginning has started of his recovery. So he just posted on his Instagram that he was walking the dog on his dirt bike. So he still has a long road ahead of him. Nico Mullally did the same single acetabulum fracture back in 2023, and he was racing the same season. So, I personally, like having been there and then some, I would personally like to see Dak take his time and really not focus on 2025, but rather just shift his focus to getting as good as he can for 2026. But I kind of think he's going to just get back on the horse as fast as he can and chase that elusive win.
It's so hard as a racer.
Yeah. Because I'm a middle-aged man now.
Watching that first episode.
He's right
watching
there.
That first episode of Race Tapes, and he's so hungry for it. Yeah.
Right. So that's what's driving him. So, I really won't be surprised if he races this year. So things are going as good as they possibly can be for, how bad that injury actually is. Son of a bitch.
Unfortunately, you'll hear there at the end, Griz kept running into some internet problems. Goddamn Elon Musk and his Starlink really ruined the end of this episode. Didn't let us get it done. But hey, massive thanks to Griz for coming on board. Always an insightful look at the US downhill scene from him. Super intrigued to see how everything goes with the Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series this year and all the regional stuff going on too. I think it's a real year of change for racing in the US, so looking forward to seeing what comes from there. As always, thanks to Maxxis Tyres and Fox Suspension, big partners of the show this year, and we are stoked to have them involved. Two of my favourite products on my bike, without a doubt. Keep the rubber side down, get yourself some Maxxis. Make sure you get yourself some Fox Suspension as well. Smoothest ride out there. Also, if you want to support the show, we've got some brand new merch available now. Pre-orders are going on, so jump on our socials, jump on our Instagram, and you'll be able to see some pictures of that. A little bit of a shout out to the 80s kids with an MTV-inspired theme there. Other than that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
What's up? I come from the land of down on I can't hear you. What was that? I can't hear you. I let it be like John Lennon, the anti-serum that you don't get for poisonous venom. Read the label carefully, I'm only here for the show. I love hip-hop too much to let you feed my ego. In the key of F-U-C-K, Y-O-U. I mean, why do I owe you if you're not helping me through? I mean, why do I owe you if you're obstructing my view? Success is not my castle, just a house that's brand new. You see, I irrigate the culture, give it shape like a sculpture. Still complicated, drop like I'm supposed to. B-L-I-T-Z like my DJ. Rock to the rhythm like you rock to what he plays.